this time not Sunday, but it's Wednesday, the 30th of March. And true to form, you know, our kids have to kind of jump in. And I just realized something. I didn't connect the microphone. I hope you're hearing us, but 2 seconds. Work. Let's just put this.
Yes, Liam, what happened? What happened? What happened? What happened?
Can you guys hear us better? Hopefully you can. So we're actually about to have some dinner. Hubby made us some lovely hummus with Brussels sprouts and some coleslaw.
Yeah, it's a weird meal.
But we're gonna partake and eat, and I have my favorite thing. Hi. So you know that's my meal completed. But we're just going to touch a little bit on an issue. Intimacy.
Yeah, landscape orientation is so weird, right? So you gotta turn your phone on the side to see this.
Don't worry, this orientation is basically for our YouTube channel because it was kind of hard to edit the last video to go on YouTube. So I'm not sure how many of you kind of have issues in marriage with intimacy, and we're not talking sex, like true intimacy. And the reason that we're gonna talk about it, touch on it briefly, is because it's something that we realized in our marriage that but I'll let hubby kind of lead this conversation, and I'll just give
Right, so
feedback.
basically when you got children and everybody busy and caught up, especially living in a small home, you don't get time or space for yourself to really connect. So I know that was something for us. Up to recently, where you got nothing. Everything was food forced. When I tried to hug or whatever, not you feel mechanical and hard working. So recently I've been working to warm up because I'm not really a huggy person. So that's warming it up. So when they warmed up last night, she said it was reminiscent of when we were dating or something.
Right, just before we decided to go steady, so to speak. And just to give a little backstory, if hubby allows me to share, when I met Kevin was not the type of man to embrace you. He was very to himself, you know, even in the courtship part of our relationship. Like, to hold my hand was a big thing. That I remember the first time he held my hand. No, the reason that I remember this is because it was a big thing. We went for a stroll along the boardwalk, and this is the one down Hastings. And he held my hand, and I was like, whoa, this is a big step for him to actually hold my hand. And I don't know if hubby would allow me to kind of air this as part of healing, because I find in relationships, in marriages, you have people, I think hubby would have mentioned it or touched on it in our last live, that people bring baggage to a relationship. Like, you have your baggage, and most of that baggage, we call it baggage, but it's a lot of unhealed hurts. And these areas of unhealed hurts, there are touchy situations or touchy parts that when you are in the actual marriage, I may step on it like a landmine. I would call it a landmine. I may step on a landmine and not even know it was there, but it was a wound that would have been inflicted on him from probably a past experience or whatever that he is not healed from. And because I would have kind of like stepped on that, I ended up getting the attitude, or I would be a casualty of that. But we wouldn't know these things unless we are confronted with them. There are things that you would have experienced in your past that you thought was dealt with just because you're 10 years older than when it actually first happened, or 20 years older than when it first actually happened. But if you didn't heal properly, it comes out in a marriage. And most times it can actually like hurt the marriage. It can hurt your intimacy, which is what we're talking about. And if you aren't mature enough in that relationship, when you do try to talk to your spouse about the hurt, sometimes you can recoil. I find some men are just like non-talkative, so men would rather like hold it inside, don't talk about it, be a man. We actually got a running joke with that, like, don't complain to your wife, be a man. Deal with it, or something like that. Excuse me 1 second, Jay. You could. Cause we in a live right now. Now this child is not gonna eat this egg, yeah. But because we are doing this, he's gonna want to eat the egg.
Yeah,
but
see, when someone's have your attention, right? It'd be like fleas.
But we're both chewing, so you can give it back. But we had to be honest with each other and say to each other what those hurts are. I actually would say I don't have a lot of unhealed hurts, and that's because before getting married to Kevin, I had to deal with me. I had to deal with my own issues as a divorcee, having a failed marriage, dealing with that, especially in the body of Christ, what it meant, what I was trying to do, what I was, trying to be perfect or Miss Perfect Patty, and the fact that my marriage didn't work, and, it took a toll on me mentally. And I think I am grateful for the fact that when I met Kevin, I was actually still married. And the best thing that Kevin did for me was reject me. Kevin rejected me. See all this goodness? Oh. He rejected me 3 times. 5 times? But I could only remember 3. If you say 5 times, it just makes my testimony even stronger. 5 times. I suffered 5 rejections from this one. But no matter when I looked at it, I just came back. He was a good friend. He was a good person. And I rather have his friendship, or at that point in time, I rather had his friendship than lose him altogether. And I look at that as the grace of God, right? But whatever was happening in my life at that point in time, I ended up having to go to therapy. You know, I decided that I needed help. I needed somebody outside of myself. I needed somebody outside of my circle who was willing to be an unbiased, you know, skilled professional who could look at my situation and all the stuff that I was going through at the time and just help me figure it out. So I benefited from personal therapy, from, you know, help. We say as Black people, man, who's going to go to therapy, you know, who's going to go and get counseling, or you actually seeing a shrink kind of thing is unheard of for Black couples or Black people in general. But it helped me to deal with myself, deal with my hurts, deal with things that I didn't even understand I would have been bringing into this relationship if I didn't deal with it. And trust me, he was not even going to have me if I was all confused as I was before we even got into the relationship. Because my state of mind from my marriage before, it wasn't good. And I would have destroyed him had he not rejected me. If we had just decided, you know, we were going to crab mash this thing, it wasn't going to work out. But into the marriage, no, we're realizing that my husband, no, he has healing to do, as he would have mentioned before. So hearing a man admit that and saying, well, yes, I admit that this is an area that I need some healing in. What's the next step? You know, like, for a man, men are very strict to the book. How am I going to do this? How am I going to help or get help? How am I going to change this? How am I going to heal this? How? So, hubby, how are you going to deal with your hurt? And that's because I want to eat.
Let's suck it up. Be a man.
Got me spinning out the mode.
Well, I think what I have to do is to seek therapy, seek help. So I know I was knocking around for years, right? Even after death of my mother, like, and before that, in past relationships where I would have gone depressed. It was basically anger turned anger, right? So I remember being angry for a long time. Just depressed. Thinking about what she could have done that to me. So it's a lot to unpack. And I was trying to do it myself before we NLP and the way people say with the John Asarash and the healing beats and whatnot, but I think all those things would have been trying to do it yourself. Or giving other people money for things that may not have a lasting effect. Because the traditional view of therapy is they all sit down and tell you my problems and you write and ask questions and they all spend don't hear and say therapy and then is there an end in sight? So I think that's what I have to do. Seek the help, seek the therapy. There's an NLP and whatnot for, rapid change. But I think that you already have the tools already, right? Just have to find someone who is versed with professionals to have them on that path. So yeah, the next step is to find somebody and schedule things.
And the reason that we're actually touching on this is because men can see their wives as their therapists. Happy would have shared a tweet with me. Was it a tweet?
I think so.
Yeah. A while back. Where men actually can see their wives as their therapists. Unless you are a therapist and a wife, we're not equipped to help these men. with some of their issues. And because we're not equipped, we feel as though, like, I'm the problem, I'm doing something wrong. I mean, you can tell me. When you feel as though you're the problem or you're doing something wrong, what do? Lash out. You hit back. You say, well, I'm not the problem, because in our minds, we always think we're right. We would never look at the other person and think, oh, you know what, I'm wrong, you're right, and let me think about this. No, God got to step in for you to actually change all that thought. To actually look at yourself, to say, well, you know what, I'm wrong. Let me sit myself down, humble myself, and help this person instead of just lashing out. Your first reaction in relationships, in general, is to just hit back. And when you hit back hard. And when you hit back hard, you actually damage your spouse instead of coming closer, and it damages your intimacy. So instead of coming closer, you actually drift further and further and further apart. And anger becomes a staple in the household. So if he feels like, every time he has to say something to me, I'm going to lash out, then he doesn't want to talk to me. Yeah. And then he would find somebody else to go and talk to. And then if I feel that he's not talking to me, then I'm going to go find somebody else to talk to, because he's not talking to me. And you can see that the communication now is in jeopardy. That's going to be severed.
Then you got the postman child.
Yeah, pretty much. Then you see some white babies coming through here. So, okay, about some Asian, the Asian thing,
Asian postman?
He ain't going to be a postman. Might be an
So
Asian
anyway.
actor.
So anyway.
But yeah, so you can see that the key things that can keep a marriage together: communication, intimacy, honesty. These things are directly annihilated when you have hurts, undealt with hurts, unhealed hurts in a relationship. But you are responsible for your own healing. You cannot expect your spouse
To be your therapist.
I know I call myself the wife coach, but I just do that because, like, every single day, like,
yeah, she be trying. And she say, "Oh, you listen to me."
I'm trying to coach this man's leader out of him. I'm just that, cheerleader. Sometimes I make God put on my little pom-pom skirt and say, "Baby, you could do it." Like, I'm his greatest cheerleader. I'm his greatest mouthpiece. Anywhere I go, I big up this man. He's extremely skilled, talented, faithful, dedicated. I mean, like, this man is off the chain. I am blessed just to call him mine. That's how I feel. Like, I mean, I don't even... I feel so satisfied. Like, I don't even need him to embrace me that kind of way, because I know what I have. Like, when you found something that is so precious to you, it's like, I'm so grateful that I found the one Bajan man who was willing to wait, because I said, God told me that we needed to wait, to be intimate until we were, like, figured out, until we actually decided we were going to walk down that aisle together and we were going to be married. And he said, okay.
You went on a beach.
Yeah, we were married on a beach, which is so awesome. I'll probably do a picture of the montage that our good friend actually gave us for our 5th wedding anniversary. It's so sweet. I'll take a picture and just shoot it up. But yeah, you gotta know as a woman that you found something good.
Yeah.
When you tell a man, God tells me to wait, and he says okay. Like, and he stays. He doesn't go looking for the side piece. He didn't go, like, hiding behind me. And no, this man, he was there 100%. I mean, from my son, I mean, he stepped up. It wasn't easy, and because I know it wasn't easy, a decision, I know his sacrifice, and therefore I know I have to do right by him. No, we don't mean to take up a lot more of your time, but we just wanted to just touch on it and say, this is where we're at in our journey, and we wanted to share this nugget with you guys, that intimacy depends on your health, your internal health, your spiritual health, your mental health. if you have hurts in any form or fashion, if you have any kind of undealt with pain,
Yeah.
fix it before you actually decide to go to your spouse with all that drama.
Yeah.
Just fix it. Because when you go to him or her,
They aren't equipped to deal with it.
they can't deal with it.
Can't unpack it.
They can't handle it. What they need is your honesty. And if you aren't even equipped to deal with honesty, leave it out. Leave it right out. Because you see this thing called marriage? It's like you're together forever. Or until your forever becomes like forever. So, you know, so just get help. Don't be shamed. Don't feel shame. It's your health that's what's important. Don't feel like it's a taboo thing, because it ain't taboo. It's taboo when you looking all crazy. You and your man cussing one another in the middle of the street or in cars in front of kids. You know, the children are watching. Not just your kids. If you don't have kids, the neighbors' kids are watching. They can hear. We live in a neighborhood where we just hear everything going on. If your octave in your voice is even above a certain decimal, we can hear it in the house. You know?
Everybody paying attention.
And they're listening. So if you are really about your health, your relationship health, your marriage health, self-health, get help. Don't be shy. And I'm going to go finish my dinner that hubby lovingly made for me and drink me some wine. And I'll see you in the next live.
Graffiti.
See you guys. How you do it?
But I can't see right now. Right. You don't want some of this, so the rest is yours. You got to say it. No, he can't rap. I'll use my